Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever taken no for an answer? Is the word no something that you usually hear in your everyday life, in your business activities? Are you sometimes tempted to give up when you think everything is lost? Well, there is one core truth that I have learned from Swiss environmentalist Vera Weber, who is also my father. That's exactly that. Never, ever take no for an answer. Or as the French say, impossible n'est pas français. When you grow up as a child of a man who has stopped a highway in a field, and I mean, there was a highway exit, a piece of highway, and that highway stopped in a field. A highway that was in the process of being built, with all the money, contracts, workers, bulldozers, everything that is involved with the building of a highway. A highway that would have destroyed the beautiful lakeside of Lausanne, Ouchy, on the Lake of Geneva. A highway that had been authorized, planned, supported, funded by the Swiss government, supported by the cabinet. When you know that a man has stopped such a highway, and you are the daughter of that man, you do know that everything, absolutely everything is possible. And you learn that it is not pointless to fight for every beauty and life on earth. I'm not a biologist and I'm not a scientist. I'm a campaigner. I build coalitions, I fundraise, I hire professional service companies to advise me, and I seek to change governments' positions on issues of animal welfare and environment. And further afield, I look at animal welfare and conservation issues as a business and political endeavor. Like many of you here tonight, I too am a businesswoman. I'm just not selling a product or service. Using my common sense, I try to sell solutions to shared problems and seek to make the case for greater animal and nature conservation. Now I don't quite know what my father would think of my self-characterization of me as a businesswoman. He probably would sell me out as a sellout. But I want to show you today that biodiversity loss is as an issue just as immediately concerning small and big businesses as environmentalists and conservation movements. So, what is the true value of biodiversity? To break it down to the obvious, it is simply the principal building block of life. For too long, I believe, man has negated the fact that everything our lives is based on comes from nature. From the food we eat, the water we drink, the air we breathe, the clothes we wear, the houses we live in, even the cars we drive, the medicine that heals us, everything has its roots in nature. But I will not dwell on the details of the services that nature brings. As I mentioned earlier, I'm not a biologist and not a scientist. I'm a campaigner, and I'm a pragmatic optimist. And as such, I would like to take a look, if you will permit me here tonight, at the economic and social values of biodiversity from a different, less conventional angle. Because we live in a world driven by mostly economics, many scientists and researchers are trying to put a price tag on the services of ecosystems and biodiversity. At the current rate of loss, I cite, the cost of replacing these services, the global air and water purification systems, climate regulation, rainfall, oxygen production, and plant fertilization has been estimated by the recent European Commission report, The Economics of Ecosystems and Biodiversity, at over 50 billion euros a year. And that figure is growing every day. But let's leave this somewhat dramatic statistic on the side for the moment and look at the other value of biodiversity in terms of economic and society. Biodiversity is the very nucleus of our nature systems. It is a well-oiled machine, an enterprise that functions perfectly well, and in which every individual worker has his focus, his task, his mission. There is no board, no bosses, no management team, no balance sheet, no profit and loss. There are, however, critically shareholders, you and me, and billions of us. We all have a fundamental vested interest in continued smooth functioning of this global enterprise that we call biodiversity. Nature doesn't need money to run its core business activities. It just needs its team of millions of insects and plants and animals to do their job, to protect the world from the effects of pollution, of contamination, of drafts, from starvation, from the very death of the soil, of the so extensively cultivated soil. Nature, and by that I mean biodiversity and ecosystems, is the business leader in this world. Nature shows us the way. Nature shows us what business as usual, really means. Biodiversity doesn't think in terms of profit. It doesn't prepare a business plan on how to profit at the lowest cost. She produces, she cleans, she repairs, she protects, she renews and creates without expecting anything in return. And it works. Nature is the best run business on this earth, and the richest and the wealthiest. Without looking for gains, she gains. Without looking for success, she earns successes. Without looking for power, she has power. She is on top of everybody and everything else, and doesn't expect, and I repeat myself, doesn't expect profit in return. I would like to highlight the comment of Francisco d'Ancona, a hero from the famous book Atlas Shrugged, written by Ayn Rand in 1945. It is an appreciation of money. But you say that money is made by the strong at the expense of the weak? What strength do you mean? Is it not the strength of guns or muscles? Wealth is the product of man's capacity to think. Then is money made by the man who invents a motor at the expense of those who didn't invent a motor? Is money made by the intelligent at the expense of the fools? By the able at the expense of the incompetent? By the ambitious at the expense of the lazy? Money is made before it can be looted or mooched, made by the effort of every honest man, each to the extent of his ability. An honest man is one who knows that he can't consume more than he has produced. Now, what does this statement has to do with biodiversity? Well, I believe that it tells us that intelligent, able, and ambitious people should have the ability to follow the example of biodiversity's fundamental law. Do not saw down the branch you are sitting on. Do not consume more than you can produce. And critically, do not destroy the building block of life. Respect it. Take care of it. I believe passionately that if nature and biodiversity were used as examples and models for running businesses and enterprises, it would be the best possible guarantee of creating longer-term wealth and success. Let me try to illustrate this in other words. I said earlier that nature renders services without expecting any profit. We, as human beings, limit ourselves to profit. And our profit is, I regret to say, our Achilles heel. It is not money, but it is profit motivation that will be our doom. The true value of money is not solely achieving profit and gain, but that of rendering the best possible of services, of achieving excellence in services and in the production of goods. These are the lessons that we should learn from nature, from its endlessly efficient biodiversity. Nature does not have her focus on profit. She focuses on the bigger picture, on the well-being, sustainability, on the wealth of all living beings. And she does that in order to guarantee her own future. If we were able to put aside our profit motive and focus 100% on achieving excellence in all we do and produce, I believe we would halt the headlong drive towards destruction of the every life source that sustains us. We would stop using to excess the resources of the earth, and we would, odd as it may seem, all have a better, richer, and more rewarding life. For that, what it is worth, my maxims is handle nature with care, and she will reward you that 100-fold. As I alluded earlier, agriculture is probably the best example of that precept. And since we rely on agriculture so heavily, we must take that into account. Rapid and ruthless use of agriculture and overproduction will lead inevitably to the remiss of the soil, the pollution, the contamination, and to the endless biodiversity loss. Sustainable agriculture and careful agriculture will reward us with food and wealth for centuries to come. In conclusions, perhaps, I can illustrate this further. There is an organized system in nature business, a programming within a team of living beings, creating and rendering services. The only living being capable of setting themselves outside of this programming are we, the human beings. And that always strikes me. Plants, animals, insects cannot do anything other than render their services. They are on the planet for this purpose. We humans might have a purpose, God knows what, but it is surely not one to fit into any scheme. We have the gift of choice, and therein lies the greatest danger, but the greatest hope too. Choice gives us the faculty to destroy, but it also gives us the ability to step back from the abyss and realize. To realize that our purpose in life it could be to take the example of nature's biodiversity and create a society and economy based on achieving true excellence. Thank you.